Family, friends, and loved ones. There's a couple of things that are on my mind that I'd like to share or discuss or invite you to discuss amongst each other and especially with yourselves. These are things you might want to discuss with yourself in a place of quietude, meditation, contemplation. The situations that present themselves to us now are situations that will often bring about the best and the worst. And we have a choice. You can notice when something is triggering you towards your worst, and you can notice this trigger, and you can know deep inside what is the way to turn it the opposite direction for a pure transmutation, to take an aggressive feeling and turn it into a kind gesture or a loving transaction. And the scenario around us, the social climate, is one where the differences are already set in place. And so this is what I want to talk about really quick. Many of us will have a tendency to blame or demonize other people for what's going on right now. It's just one of the stages of grief is anger and denial and looking outside of ourselves for something to blame. So in this country around election time, you can see the left and right at each other's throats. And the ignorant and profane still don't understand that this is just the left and right wing of the same bird. They have no idea, and it's not their fault. But the tension is real between the left and right to a point where they will hurt each other under even mild level of pressure. The same with black, white, and brown, the racial tension that is hardwired into our culture and our country is severe. It's on the news even in peaceful times, because they're not peaceful times, all right? The socioeconomic pressure, the political pressure is hardwired because of the concept of divide and conquer. It's easier to control a group of people when you have Muslims and Christians and Jews all at each other's throat, black, white, and brown, all at each other's throat, Democrats, Republicans, libtards, tree huggers, all at each other's throats. And I'm as guilty as the next in this, in that I feel that in this age of information, the ignorance of the masses will not be tolerated. And so I feel that the ignorant and the profane, the Homer Simpsons, the hot pocket eaters who huddle around the 5G and don't care about anything except consuming and distracting themselves, the ones who don't care anything about the planet, the destruction of our Mother Earth and her children, the life on this planet, the unprepared, the ignorant, these are tend to be my personal targets when I look outside of myself. I try not to look outside of myself, but we're all human, and so I try my best, and our best is different on a daily basis. But recognizing it, especially in this time, recognizing this urge that we have to look outside of ourselves, and instead, let's look inside of ourselves and use this as a time to potentially get past these differences that have been printed on us since a very, very young age. When we're children, we're imprinted with our parents and our culture around us. You see one town at another town's throat when it comes to soccer matches, sports teams. The polarity is hardwired into our culture. And I invite you to think through the worst case scenario. hordes of people at each other's throats right now, using their differences as an excuse. Think of yourself on the wrong end of this. There is no right end of it. And search yourself for a way to transcend this in your lifetime while you still have the time and the inclination. This is a time to recognize that we are all one. We are earthlings. We are children of the earth. We are human beings. All of the other separations can go by the wayside when we come to understand this. Muslims and Christians and Jews are praying to the same source, God, whatever you want to call it. And most mainstream media people, most mainstream church people, most mainstream political ideology is designed to control the masses. If you do not lead yourself, if you do not find your own way, if you don't search deeper, then it'll be done for you. And you don't need to be a victim of that. This is a time where you can search for a deeper truth, and getting past these things must start with the self before it can go outside of yourself. Don't worry about other people and their differences. Worry about your own internal. Who outside of yourself are you blaming? And are you blaming yourself? And take a look at that. There's a difference between taking responsibility for the position that you're in, the position that we're in, and blaming outside of yourself. Who knows? But this is a time for introspection. And it's a time for a coming together. And where I started, these situations bring about the best and the worst of us. And right now is a time to take control and responsibility of prevailing in a psychological and spiritual way, internally and personally first, so that you can share this energy with everything around you. We seek synergy and balance with nature.